What if I told you that a man who spent his entire life fighting fires, saving forests, villages, and strangers, was changed forever by a fire that refused to die? What if I told you that inside the heart of a burning Spanish forest, a Catholic firefighter heard words that were not shouted by any human being, words that made him fall to his knees, words that changed his destiny and led him to Islam? This story is not about a fire that destroyed trees. It is about a fire that exposed the truth inside a man's soul. Stay with me, because what happened to him in the smoke, the ashes, and the silence will shake your heart and make you whisper Subhanallah before the story ends. The fire that burned his faith and led him to Allah emotional true-style story. Miguel Alvarez never imagined that the fire he was sent to extinguish would one day extinguish his old life instead, burning through the beliefs he carried since childhood and leaving behind something completely new, something he never expected to find: Islam. He was a 32-year-old firefighter for northern Spain, born into a strict Catholic family, raised with Sunday Mass, wooden rosaries, and prayers whispered in stone-walled churches. But as he grew older, life twisted his faith into silence. The prayers faded, and he became a man who served humanity bravely but served God half-heartedly, always carrying a quiet emptiness inside his chest he never dared to speak about. He fought fire since the age of 20, saw homes fall, forests collapse, and people cry in the ashes, and each time he wondered, if God is there, why does he let people suffer? Why does he let everything burn? But he kept these questions buried under his uniform, under his courage, under his fear of sounding ungrateful, until one summer night, a massive wildfire broke out in the Sierra de Cebollera forest, a blaze so huge that even the most experienced firefighters went silent when they saw the smoke cloud rising like a giant black mountain against the sky. Miguel was among the first responders, driving through twisting mountain roads, listening to the alarms echo from the radios, feeling the tension in the air like electricity. When they reached the forest, the flames were alive, roaring like beasts, leaping from tree to tree, painting the night with orange fury, and the air smelled of burning pine and fear. But Miguel was calm, as always, putting on his mask, tightening his gloves, stepping into the heat as if stepping into destiny. The deeper he went into the forest, the darker and stranger everything felt. The fire seemed to move unnaturally fast, as though driven by something unseen. And the wind carried a strange sound, like whispers but not human. He ignored it at first, thinking it was the pressure of the mask or the hiss of burning branches, but the whispers grew clearer the farther he walked. Miguel, he froze, thinking someone was calling him from behind. But when he turned, he saw nothing but smoke and silhouettes of trees glowing like skeletons. He kept walking, heart pounding, telling himself it was stress, exhaustion, lack of oxygen, anything but the supernatural. But then he heard a sound that made his whole world stop. Not a whisper this time, not a trick of the wind, but a clear voice, calm, beautiful, echoing through the burning forest. A voice reciting something in a language he did not understand, yet somehow felt inside his bones. Allahu la ilaha illa huwa allahuakbar. The words drifted like light through the smoke, nearly impossible but undeniably real. Miguel dropped to his knees, breath shaking, eyes wide behind the mask. His hands trembled as he looked around, expecting to find someone, anyone, but there was no one there, neither firefighter nor civilian, nothing but flames. And that voice. He had never heard Arabic recitation before, yet. Something inside him recognized the power, the peace, the certainty it carried, a feeling he had never experienced in any church, any prayer, any scripture. He felt like the forest wasn't burning. It was speaking. He removed his mask, ignoring the danger, desperate to hear more, tears forming without his permission as the voice continued. Lakto, Sinatin Wala Nam. It was Ayat al-Kursi. Though he did not know it at the time, he only knew that the words felt like water falling on the fire inside him, cooling something that had been burning for years. Suddenly, a huge tree collapsed nearby. Snapping him back to reality, he ran to avoid the falling trunk. And as he stumbled forward, he saw something impossible through the flames. A small wooden cabin completely untouched by fire, a pocket of safety in the middle of destruction. He pushed the burning branches aside and rushed toward it, the heat suddenly gentler, as if held back by an invisible barrier. When he pushed the cabin door open, he found an elderly man sitting calmly on the floor, wrapped in a light shawl, a small lantern beside him, and a Quran resting on his lap. The man looked at Miguel with peaceful eyes and smiled as though he had been expecting him. "You heard it, didn't you?" the old man asked, his Spanish accent gentle, his voice steady despite the chaos outside. Miguel was shaking, unable to speak, unable to understand how this cabin wasn't burning, how this man was unharmed, how the recitation reached his heart like a message meant only for him. The man introduced himself as Yusuf, a Muslim retiree who lived alone in the mountains, spending his days in prayer. He explained that he had been reciting Quran when the fire started, but felt no fear, because when you trust Allah, the world may burn, but your heart stays cool. Miguel didn't understand how faith could give someone that level of calmness, that level of surrender, especially in the face of death, but he desperately wanted to understand. Yusuf gently placed his hand on Miguel's shoulder and said, "Allah guides whom he wills, my son, sometimes through peace, sometimes through fire." Miguel felt something break inside him, something heavy he carried for years, doubt, loneliness, spiritual thirst. After the fire was controlled hours later, the rescue team found Miguel near the cabin, exhausted but unharmed, though they never found any trace of Yusuf or the cabin. When Miguel returned days later, hoping to thank the old man, he found nothing but ash, no cabin, no shawl, no lantern, no footprint. He thought he was losing his mind, until he found one thing left behind in the soot. A single page of the Quran, perfectly preserved, Ayat al-Kursi written in beautiful Arabic calligraphy. He held it to his chest and cried, realizing that the voice he heard, the peace he felt, the miracle he witnessed, it all led him to the truth he had been searching for his entire life. He started studying Islam in secret, visiting a Moroccan-owned bookshop in Legrano, learning the meaning of the verse he heard, learning about Allah, learning about prayer, learning that the emptiness he carried all these years was simply the absence of guidance. 6 months later, after endless nights of tears, reflection, reading, and fighting the fear of how his family would react, Miguel stood in a quiet masjid in Madrid and whispered the Shahada with trembling lips, crying like a child, feeling every word wash over him like rain over ash. Ashhadu alla ilaha illallah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. The imam hugged him, the brothers cheered, and Miguel felt a peace deeper than anything he ever felt in his entire life. When he told his parents, they were shocked, angered, confused, but he told them gently, "I did not leave God. I finally found him." Some of them eventually softened, others did not, but Miguel stayed patient, remembering Yusuf's words, "Trust Allah, and the world may burn, but your heart stays cool." He returned to firefighting, but now every blaze felt different. He no longer feared death, no longer asked why suffering existed, because he learned that Allah tests, cleans, and guides through fire and through water, through ease and through hardship. Years passed, and one summer, while leading a new team of firefighters, he again entered a burning forest, and again he felt surrounded by heat and smoke. But this time he whispered Ayat al-Kursi himself, not in fear but in trust, his voice steady, his heart firm. And deep inside the fire, he remembered the old man's eyes, the miracle cabin, the preserved page, the voice in the flames. Guidance delivered in the most unexpected place. And Miguel realized something powerful. Allah had burned the forest to light his path, and so the Catholic firefighter became a Muslim, the man of water became a man of faith, and the fire that once destroyed his certainty became the fire that rebuilt his heart. And now, every time he puts on his uniform, every time he walks into smoke, he whispers, Bismillah, knowing that the one who guided him in flames will guide him in every step afterward. If this story touched your heart, if it made you think about how Allah guides whom he wills, even in the most unexpected moments, inside a burning forest, inside a heart full of confusion, then don't let it end here. My brothers and sisters, hit the like button, share this story with someone who needs a sign, and subscribe to Deen in Minute for more emotional Islamic stories every day. And remember, guidance is the greatest miracle. If Allah guided a firefighter through flames, imagine what he can do for you. Keep your heart open, keep your tongue moist with dhikr, and keep returning to Allah. See you in the next video, inshallah.